you. So this is Guatemala, the place where I'm from. You're allowed to imagine yourself with the margarita there instead of the last session right now. But you might also notice the abundance of natural resources. So this is where I grew up, but I also grew up in a constant contradiction. We're satisfying our very basic needs like transportation, we at the expense of pollution, air quality, and climate change. Now, this is not a problem just for Guatemala. Every community has its own beauty and the very own contradiction. From large transit systems to small private fleets, there is reliance on fossil fuels, and we have heard a lot about what it's costing and what are the tickets they're passing to us. But let's imagine a future where our resources are in complete harmony with satisfying our needs, such as maybe a bus powered by water. Not a sci-fi concept, this actually exists. This is a hydrogen fuel cell electric bus. Instead of diesel, it uses hydrogen. That hydrogen can be generated from renewable sources or electricity like solar and wind, and is converted to hydrogen, and the only byproduct is water. So literally, from water to water, you get to move a bus. And this is the actual photo of a hydrogen fuel cell bus deployed at the University of Irvine, California in 2017. And I was lucky enough to be part of the group that brought this to the first university campus in the US. Another clean technology are bioelectric buses. We heard about that. And in general, instead of fuel or diesel, you use electricity. You put it inside a battery. The battery is on board of the vehicle. And obviously, these technologies have been around for a while, but why is it so important and critical? There is a race to sustainability, and we're kind of behind it already. There are mandates by cities and states that are requiring entire fleets to transition. You probably heard California is not going to allow any internal combustion engines starting 2035. And if it's not a mandate, there are initiatives from cities declaring they're going to reduce their carbon emissions, and they're committed to that. We have large companies like Google, Amazon, Lyft saying that they're going to do the transition to zero-emission technologies as well. But more importantly, there is a lot of money on it right now. There is a lot of funding. Just recently, the infrastructure bill has over $100 billion assigned to public transportation, and specifically to public agencies. There is over $5 billion that are going to be distributed to the Federal Transit Administration in a program called Low to No Emission Initiative for buses and infrastructure. So this is a well-known technology now. Everyone is familiar with Teslas, maybe not so much with hydrogen, but it's been here for a while, and there is a lot of funding. But nevertheless, this transition is still very complex. We heard some questions. What about fires? What about the range? It's not as easy as you putting diesel or natural gas into a bus. Now we gotta worry about distribution, transmission lines. What if it's an outage, like what we just don't get buses that day? There is also an issue like if the vehicle has to charge along the route, called on-route charging, you open the door to having high-cost infrastructure outside of the main facility. And then you have to worry about sending staff there to maintain that technology, troubleshooting. And then a bigger question that was asked, like, can our clients start being their own producers? It's not as simple. You have to harvest this huge amount of solar or wind, put it in a battery, and then put it back into the buses, or maybe even more complex. You want to produce your hydrogen on site. So you go from having an operator that knows how to fix a bus to saying, now we have these complex systems and you gotta learn how to deal with that. On top of that, you still have to train your drivers, you still have to train your mechanics. Everything is turned upside down. But there's money, right? So there is a complex problem, similar to the chicken and the egg. Despite the very eloquent proclaimer from my colleague, don't just jump and buy buses, but maybe some are doing it because the funding is there. Or maybe you want to stop and plan a strategic transition. Maybe you're doing both. But no matter what part of the process you are, ZEVDecide is here to help. ZEVDecide is a modeling tool that allows for a data-driven approach to a zero-emission rollout plans. And this tool was really built in terms of honoring our communities and our clients. We made something that is custom-made to their needs. But maybe you ask yourself, what is a zero-emission rollout plan? Simply put, it's a series of analysis that we take to plan that transition. And ZEVDecide is at the core of that planning process. First, we do modeling, and we're able to understand how each of these technologies are going to perform under the various specific conditions. We're talking about driving a bus in Australia versus here in Canada. It's going to look different. Then we have a multi-criteria analysis that allows us to understand what is the ideal mix of these technologies. Is it hydrogen? Is it electric? Maybe a mix of them? Maybe a hybrid in between. And then ZEVDecide also informs the concept design. So we don't approach this as just me or my group or the transfer advisory group. We actually have architects, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, an entire multidisciplinary team that approaches this zero-emission rollout plans. But ZEVDecide is constantly informing those decisions. Then we have a phasing plan, a cost analysis also done through ZEVDecide, when we can actually compare the base case to this transition, like how much is this really going to cost you? And then a comprehensive assessment with every operation from our system is analyzed because, like I said, it's complex, right? So as you saw, and maybe you said it now, ZEVDecide is very key throughout the planning process. And we call this modeling suites or modules. We have the energy model, the power model, the cost assessment, and the fleet mix through the multi-criteria assessment. And expanding a little bit on that, in the energy model, we take both electric hybrids, hydrogen, any zero or near to zero emission technology, and we analyze under any condition that is going to affect that energy consumption. So bus specifications like how big is your battery? What is the weight of your vehicle? That's going to affect driving cycles. You know that if you drive in the city versus in a highway, your fuel economy is going to be different. These vehicles are not strange to that. Are you blasting your AC or your heater, depending on where you are? Those ambient conditions are definitely going to affect that. And then even passenger loads, because how full a bus is going to limit that range of how far that vehicle can go. And elevation and topography. You know, if you drive by the beach or you're going up in the mountain, your range is going to look different. So we are able to model that and inform our clients. With the power module, again, we inform that concept design and we give this information to our architects and engineers. We give them information of what is the expected load at the facility. Are we talking kilowatts? Are we talking megawatts? And this allows us to engage early with the utilities because then we got to bring them into the table and say, is this even possible and what's the timeline? We give equipment specifications like how many chargers do you need? We try to optimize that. And at what capacity, there are different types. And then we can even model the cost of the electricity based on the utility rates and the charging strategy. So there is an iteration between the energy model and the power model. So we can generate different cost scenarios through ZEVDecide. And through the multi-criteria analysis, we can tell our clients, what is the ideal mix? Should you do hydrogen? Should you do electric? Is it a mix? And similar to what Mary France was saying, don't have a specific technology in mind. Like we want to make this an informed decision. Because this is key and we have seen the value to our clients and to other markets. With the support from the Innovation Office, we're developing an interface for Stantec users. And we're also developing an interface for our clients where they can see the results online from the modeling as well as summaries from the cost and the power model. And they can even communicate with us there. And ZEVDecide has been around for a while through the Transit Advisory team. We have been evolving geographically. West Coast, East Coast, we're hoping to keep evolving on that. And we are expanding beyond planning. We're doing and we're informing our architects and engineers in the actual installation of this infrastructure. We're also part of teams for the design and construction of brand new facilities that are only going to house zero-emission vehicles. And we're also expanding beyond transit, and we're helping municipal fleets that sometimes they have over 1,000 vehicles, and we're able to do that zero-emission rollout planning for them. ZEVDecide has been built to help school districts, air fleets, mines, any vehicle that has an equivalent can go in there. So bottom line is, ZEVDecide can help our clients start a very complex process by taking it down into key pieces of information. And it might be obvious, I'm a true believer of these technologies. But beyond that, I think this is a key part of the puzzle that is going to allow our kids to really imagine a future where they don't have to worry about their needs, sacrificing their resources, because they reach sustainability. And if you think about it, that is the domino effect that is going to preserve our natural resources and is going to leave intact your next destination when you come and visit Guatemala. And with that, I want to acknowledge the Transfer Advisory Team, David Vervich and Pamela Bailey Campbell. They have been huge believers and working shoulder by shoulder to build this, and the Innovation Office for believing in us on this. So, thank you.